And for more, I'm joined by Federiga Maria Bindi. She is a senior fellow at the Center for Transatlantic Relations at Johns Hopkins. Welcome to our broadcast. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us, Federiga, how have these attacks in Paris changed the topic of fighting terrorism, and how do you see France responding in the coming days?
Right, France, from my understanding, street a little bit emptier, quieter, lots of policemen, but people are still having sort of a normal life, and therefore reacting with a normal life to say, you're not gonna crash, you're not gonna crash our lifestyle. What is gonna change? I mean, ironically, this happened the day foreign leaders were meeting in Vienna to discuss Syria, which is clearly related to all this. So I believe it was a strategic mistake of ISIS to strike now, because it clearly glued the rest of the world together.
Very interesting point. France now closing its borders. What is the concern there?
Well, first of all, I have a little bit of difficulty to physically understand how they close the border, because there are no borders anymore. So, but I think it's more than a security. It's because we understand that people came from Belgium. It's more of, I think, closing to make sure that if they're escaping back, we might get, there are 8 people which are dead, but there's possibly other people who are involved in the attacks which are on the loose, and I think it's more for trying to catch them than other.
How do you see other EU members responding to the attacks and really coming together? You mentioned the talks going on right now about Syria in Vienna, but do you expect the coalition to become even stronger, and how will France respond? They're saying this is an all-out war.
You know, the big question for you, the big question here is, how could that happen? 8 people, 5 different places. Where were the secret services? Big question mark. And so the question that the Europeans need to address now, one of the many, is what do you do with data? The Europeans, especially European Parliament, is really against data sharing. This is a war. We need data sharing information. End of the story. So I hope they will understand that and go to that. Second thing, I hope the Europeans will stop doing petty little wars between each other and stupid things. I understand that this is something which is much bigger than ourselves, something that the countries which were in the forefront, like Italy, had been telling, or Spain, they had been telling everybody for a year, more than a year now, say, look, these migrants, we have terrorists coming up. They told them all the dangers that were coming, and nobody listened. So I hope now they're listening and acting and doing something.
This cell made it look really easy to carry out a terror attack of this magnitude, killing over 100 people, just walking into a public venue there in an intimate neighborhood and blowing people away, as you say, without any intelligence. How will Paris respond to that in the coming days?
Domestically, probably there'll be, there is already more security coming up, more police, but this is really intelligence that we need. This is really intelligence cooperating, really. Instead of spying each other, the Europeans should focus all their energy to fight ISIS.
Right. China now expressing condemnation, as you know. How does ISIL expect to take on this strong, united front? You have second biggest power in the world saying they're condemning this.
On the one side, I think it energized them. It thinks them, oh, we made even China move.
Right.
So on the one side, I think they will be somehow happy about it. On the other, again, big mistake. Also because China has been working with the African continent for a long time and has an interest for the African continent to develop economically. So if the US, Russia, and China and the European Union are on board together, this is going to be difficult for ISIS.